Good morning everybody, or good afternoon, depending on what time it is there. Today I'd like to welcome you to my very quick introduction lesson video lecture to the Flip Classroom. The Flip Classroom. What's the Flip Classroom? I'm sure many of you have heard this buzzword recently. It is a buzzword. I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of what it is, why it's being used, and maybe how you could use it to make your work more efficient and effective. And basically, the basic concept is that you do your schoolwork at home and your homework at school. Really what this means is that a lot of teachers are focusing on their books. Their books seem to be like the grail for them. It seems to be like the focus of all the planning. Really, that's not very efficient use of time. That can quite easily be done at home. You don't need to search for extra homework worksheets or extra supplementary work. That can be done at home by doing very short video lectures like this that the students can watch at home or in their free time on their own device, whether it be a mobile, a note, a tab, or a computer, or a good old-fashioned desktop. Alright? And then at school, you're free for slightly more creative activities. Okay, let's look into it a little bit. So why flip? What's the reason? Why would we need to flip a room? Well, there are certain issues that I think most people will agree are common issues. One of them, of course, is very little time. Obviously, if you're in an English program, these students are going to get core English up to 3 times a week, and then another couple of hours supplementary with phonics or grammar or something else. But generally, it's not quite enough time, especially if you think of non-English programs where the teachers maybe have more hours, more contact hours, more students, less frequency. This really helps with that. Also, a lot of teachers really want to start using communicative language teaching in the classroom, CLT, but it's just not possible when you've got to finish a book as well. You might be able to maybe earmark 1 or 2 periods every unit for that kind of thing, but when you've really got to get through a book, it doesn't, or when you've got lots of indicators to cover or lots of paperwork that needs covering, this is a much better use of your time. And of course, the classic, the old chestnut for all teachers at all subjects all over the world is you need differentiation in class. Students are learning at different levels, different speeds, different aptitudes, different forms of intelligence, and if we're just teaching one class to all 20, 30, 40 or even 50 kids with the same content in the same book, some children are going to suffer from understimulation and some are going to suffer from work being too hard for them, basically. So this is another way of addressing that. Alright? Now, very brief, let's move on really quickly. In a lecture scenario, if we were doing this seminar and I was going to give this lecture on the mic, I would probably use something like 40 to 50 minutes. It's normal. We'd do some kind of like big warm-up game. I'd probably tell some stories, some jokes. We'd kind of skirt around the issue quite a lot, talk a lot. If we were in a classroom environment with students, I might have to sort of classroom manage. I would need to make sure that students are listening. I might have to rephrase many times, rework over the same concept to try and get across meaning. And that's going to waste a lot of time. At least in this environment, a child would be able to re-watch the video in their own time while doing the work. Mother and father could sit with them, watch the video together. It helps you learn in your own way. Whatever fits your intelligence best, you can use the short video lecture as the core resource. Alright? But if I wasn't doing that, obviously I'd be using stories, graphs, pictures, images, jokes. There'd be interruptions. It's normal. And it would take a lot of time. So this is basically a choice. The second choice would be to go more of the flip route, where you do like an 8-minute video lecture. 8 minutes is a good number, by the way. I think we're going to keep this to just under 8 minutes today. But 8 minutes is a good number. You can get across most information within 8 minutes, I think. Just by giving clear examples. There is an online Flip Classroom of mine that you can watch based at a primary 1 level, and that'll give you a basic idea. And then, what would I do? And then, of course, if we were in a classroom environment and I was teaching the basic concepts of a unit, we'd do that in 8 minutes. While that's happening, I would then be free to walk around the room and be my own classroom manager. I'd be able to basically act as my own TA, which is very useful indeed. And it would give me more time for assessment. Then, of course, I could do activities, discussions, projects, using collaboration, differentiation. It can be student-centred. I'm going to be free to stroll around the room, check on students, make sure that they're being properly stimulated. If students are in different levels, we might break the room up into teams, give them different levels of communicative activities to partake in, make the more advanced students help the students that are not as developing as quickly. That gives you a lot more choice. Obviously, there are negatives and positives. So very briefly, we're on to our last page now. Got 2 minutes left. The pros. Obviously, the pros are quite obvious, I think. That students learn independently. They're controlling their own learning. I mean, if you've learned anything new in the last few years, guitar, piano, a language, philosophy, any learning you've done privately, how have you best learned? Have you felt you're learning the best in a lecture theatre with 30, 40, 50 other people? Or would you learn better at home in your own time, re-watching a video? So that empowers students. Videos can be watched again and again. As I've mentioned, parents could follow your teaching. That's really good as well. Parents can see the amount of effort you're putting into work. They can see the content. As a former director of a school, it actually would reduce parent complaints, issues, things that just eat up your day-to-day time and energy levels that aren't really helping the children. Maybe through a lack of understanding of what's being taught. This helps. All right? And as a teacher, it will impress your boss. I mean, it really will. If you've started uploading teaching classes, putting them on the school Facebook, getting parents engaged, your boss will find out. And it's a very, very productive way of showcasing your skills. All right? And naturally, more free time in class, obviously. Now, last 45 seconds. Teachers, these are the negative sides, all right? You, unfortunately, or teachers, should I say, are one of the major cons. One of the major negative aspects is the fact that you're not brave enough. Not you, us. Teachers aren't always brave enough to go ahead and do this. All right? It's very easy, it takes very little time. Students need access to the internet. Of course, that's a difficult one, especially if you're in a country school or more poorer areas. However, nowadays, that doesn't tend to be as much of an issue as when I started teaching 10, 15 years ago. Nobody had it. I mean, it didn't exist. But that issue is slowly becoming less and less powerful and important. And obviously, think about it. I mean, nowadays they'll be able to do their homework on the bus, on the song tower. They'll sit and watch it on a mobile phone, all right? At first, it will take more time from you, though. All right, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. Actually, 127% research shows. But once you get in the habit of it, you get in the routine, you've got a back catalogue of classes to keep up, you end up working a lot less hard. It actually saves a lot more time. Right, well, I'm over by 25 seconds, so thank you very much for listening. I hope everybody is interested enough, and let's talk about this some more. Thank you.